find interesting and we want to talk to you about. And as always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host.
This is Eric.
And Eric, today we have Eric's Offerings.
Eric's Offering? What does that mean?
That means this is something that Eric brought in today.
I mean, I thought it would be an interesting topic to talk. This is something that's going on. I think it matters as a social idea to see what you think about it, I think about it, and as the story unfolds, it'll be interesting to see. Might be an interesting turning point in the realm of social media.
Well, and as always, as our listeners know, our longtime listeners, as with any Eric's Offering, I know nothing about the topic. I have had my head in the sand.
It's like you don't watch the news, Nick.
You got to have some kind of ability to watch the news. Some kind of...
You have a giant TV right in front of me.
What?
What?
We're in studio, sir. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure we are.
Don't break the illusion. Well, Eric, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about the Alex Jones kind of, I don't want to say debacle, but incident. When several social media juggernauts in the same day or near the same day decided to remove his footprint from their sites. And of course, that's Facebook. What else was there? YouTube. And I know Spotify.
Twitter?
No, he stayed on Twitter.
Oh, he was able to stay on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is that because Twitter has lower standards than everybody else?
I don't know. Well, Twitter doesn't really do much of a video format, and it seems like places where he has audio and video formats in long form, he got hit. Whereas Twitter, it's just like, however, I don't know how many characters is Twitter now. I know you can link to stuff, but I don't know if linking to something violates their guidelines. It might not.
All right. So, from what I found out here, YouTube took him off. Facebook suspended his profile for 30 days. Also removed videos. Stitcher Radio, which people can... Look, if you used to listen to InfoWars and you're upset that it's gone, we have an alternative.
Yeah, on Stitcher. I mean, I think we're on Stitcher, Nick.
We are?
Well,
what a coincidence.
Well, we're still on Stitcher. And so come listen to us even more over there.
Apple is removed. Yeah. We're on there too.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. We're on all these social networks.
Well, he also had his accounts at Vimeo. Yeah, that one. And Pinterest.
Yeah, I saw the Pinterest one. Vimeo was just like today or yesterday. It's pretty recent. He migrated his library from YouTube over to Vimeo, and they instantly banned him. Which, that's an interesting thing to do. It almost seems like Vimeo is trying to be like, all the cool kids are doing this. All the cool kids are doing this. So they're like this, like kind of like not a cool kid, but not a geek, but just trying to be involved. Well, and it's awkward.
The one that's weird on the list that I'm looking at here. Pinterest. What in the world did he do? Like, they took down his Pinterest board?
Yeah, I don't know what was on that Pinterest board. I didn't even know he had one. And now that it's gone, now that's all I want to look at.
Well, it's a shame that he won't be able to Pinterest anymore. I mean, what I know of Pinterest, I have learned from my wife. And
does she have a Pinterest?
She does.
Okay.
She does.
She pins things?
She pins some things.
Okay.
She pines them.
Nice.
So, I mean, you're right, he has been taken off of a lot of things. Now, obviously, like you said, Twitter did not take him off because, well, they have low standards, apparently.
I guess. And also, so iTunes, and I'm assuming, I know he has an app. He has an app on the iTunes, Apple. I don't have an Apple thing. It's iTunes that you download stuff from, right, Nick?
Right.
So the iTunes... He has an app so you can listen to a show. They didn't take that down. I don't know if he has one on Android, which would be controlled by Google, who owns YouTube. So that's something. I don't know. I didn't look that. I didn't think about that until just now. So I'm very curious. So Nick, what do you think about this? Seems like a coordinated effort. I'm not going to say to silence somebody because they're not really silencing him. They are making it more difficult for him to reach his audience. So that they're making it difficult to reach the breadth of his audience that he could have reached if he was on these services versus not being on these services.
So what you're asking me here is, do I think there's a conspiracy against a conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones?
Yeah.
No, I think he has just really made some people angry.
I think you're right. Now, this is one of the worst things I think they could have done to him.
It draws attention to him.
I mean, it's the Streisand effect, which we've talked about before. The moment you say, don't look at this, everybody looks.
Well, I mean, we're sitting here talking about it because
it's all over the news. But it's an interesting, clearly they knew this would happen. These are tech giants controlled by huge PR companies. They do PR, they do marketing, they understand their markets and how they work. They obviously got to know, hey, this is going to draw attention. Now, the thing is, did they expect the attention to be positive or negative? I don't know. Obviously, it's a little of both. You have those who disliked his content cheering this, those who supported his content denouncing this as some sort of denial of the First Amendment. And then you have people like, I didn't listen to him, so I have no opinion on it. I have opinion on what happened, but not on his content per se. Because I know his content is very outrageous. Because every time I hear about him, it's him making some outlandish claim. And I'm not going to get into that because that's more into his content. But that's the only time I ever really hear about him. So mine is it right for tech giants to, in a coordinated effort, try to remove a single entity, InfoWars, from their sites collectively?
You mean a man just trying to do his job?
Well, I don't know about that.
Trying to make a living?
I think it's a bad idea.
Oh, I do too. Here's the thing. And I was looking that up while you were talking. But according to Amazon's Alexa website traffic report, his website over the last month has seen an uptick.
Well, same for his app. His app is on trending now.
Yes, it is. People are, like you said, it's an effect that often happens. That's why I think we need to go controversial. Something
I think so too. I'm going to leak all those nude photos of you.
Well, that'll make people throw up. But that's the thing though, is that people when they're told basically don't listen to this guy, they seek that out. We still have that little kid mentality of, okay, well, I'm not supposed to do this, so I'm gonna, but I'm going to. Yeah. Because you told me I shouldn't.
And a lot of people who didn't really know him are obviously he's shoved into the limelight even more than normal. So he's gonna have. Over time, over the next couple months, this will die down. Obviously, he's gonna ride this wave because it really does enforce what he believes and what he says. It's like telling a guy that's looking for Bigfoot, it's like, well, I'm going to go run out in the woods in a bear costume to show him there's no real Bigfoot.
Well, and not that I think that this guy is anywhere up there at the same level, I'm about to use an example here. I don't think he does the same thing that Alex Jones does, but early on, that's how Rush Limbaugh made his impact, is because he was so against, especially he kind of had his heyday during the Clinton era.
Yes.
But, and mainly that was because he was a he was a guy that was making big waves, and a lot of people came out and spoke against him and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, his audience grew. This is the same thing that's happening with Alex Jones. I think Alex Jones is, I mean, I don't know anything about him. And well, like you said,
he's been through a lot of waves already with the media scrutinizing what he says, because he says some pretty interesting things. But this is by far the largest wave that's came his way, and he's riding it quite well, because basically they pointed this wave at him, and it's going in the direction he's already going. You know, the conspiracy, the left wing stuff. I mean,
it plays into his his audience.
It's like a pitch right over the plate. You know, just like he's gonna hit a home run on this, and I don't see how the media companies didn't see this. I think they're hoping that the wave will die down and he'll eventually fade away. But I don't know if that'll happen. I really don't see that happening.
Well, either way, I mean, I don't think he's going to fade away, but he's going to get a bigger audience out of this, because the wackos that didn't know about him are going to learn about him, just like you said. I mean, I'm going to start following. No, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, I didn't know anything about this guy. You brought him up to me. I've read some of the things he says. I'm not going to say he's a wacko, but...
The gay frog thing. I don't want to get into his content. The gay frog thing cracks me up. He says some funny stuff.
I haven't read into that one
we can get into that. I don't want to get into his content. But I really want to talk about now is not him, but what the media companies have done. So these companies, in a collaborative effort, took someone off their platforms, in a manner that is agreeable between them. That kind of plays into a philosophy and all that. I think, depending on how this rolls, and don't get me wrong, I think the social media companies have a right to do that. They are private companies. These are their platforms. They're enforcing the rules they want to enforce. That's fine. I'm all about letting the market go where the market wants to go. So if YouTube's not hosting somebody, or Facebook, or what was the other one? iTunes. That a competitor will rise. Now in today's internet, I don't know how well it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. I'm all for competition, and where someone won't serve a selected population, someone will, and they'll grow from that.
Right.
So I'm for that. I believe the networks have a right to do it. I think it's a bad idea. I think it was a bad marketing. I think it's a bad PR move. I just don't. It seems like he was shot down because of his content, but it just seems very sketchy from a business side to do that, to collaborate and to do this. It seems like, from what I read, iTunes was the first, and after that, YouTube and Facebook followed suit, Pinterest, and then Vimeo once he went there. If he's smart, he'll try to find another third video site to shut him down, or audio site to shut him down. He'll try to find more sites to shut him down, because it just plays into his narrative on his side. And eventually, I think InfoWars makes a lot of money already. If he wants to kind of set up, he already has his own website, he has his own apps, and so it's not like they're silencing him from the internet. That would be very difficult unless all the ISPs got together, or the host providers, and said, we're not going to serve you. That would be a completely different thing. But just social networks, I think people give them too much credit. The engagement on social networks is not as high as it once was. Outside of, I think, Instagram, and did he have an Instagram account? I haven't read that he had one.
I don't know if he did or not. I mean, I'm sure he's posting great pictures of his vacation.
I'm sure he
hunting Bigfoot and that sort of thing. But I mean, I agree with you. One of the things I see a lot on here that people are bringing up, the social media side of things. People are saying banning him or doing that sort of thing is is hindering his free speech.
I don't believe that because the free speech is based on the government
It is.
suppressing it. They are private organizations, so they're not hindering free speech. And for the government to say he could be on there, they would have to turn social media into utilities, and we know how well utilities
Right.
serve people. So, like, how many different places can you get your electricity from or your water from?
Podcasts would have to become a government-owned thing.
Or video.
Which, I mean, here's the thing. People, and I just looked it up, he's not been banned on Podbean. He's still Podbean, where you can go and listen to the Pull Up a Chair podcast.
That's us.
That's us. Nudge, nudge. But, he's still on that. And not that I'm telling people to go listen to it, but that's my thing, is that these companies that banned him, one of them said, I believe it was iTunes, said that they don't allow hate speech.
Which is a very vague statement.
It's vague.
And all the reasons they banned him from different places was very vague.
But these companies they are allowed to have statements of policy and that sort of thing. He was removed. They've come out and said he was removed from Vimeo because he violated policy. And I mean, I don't know what that fully means. I didn't get into the nuts and bolts of that, but they're allowed to have policies that they can hold in place, and it's not a matter of free speech being done. Because when we signed up for Podbean, you and I had to agree. And when we've done all these others, we had to agree to these certain statements.
I agree.
Statement.
Terms of use statements.
Nobody reads them hardly, but
and they're pretty broad.
there.
And they're almost non-enforceable too by law. They're not really that enforceable,
right?
In terms of like what
it also allows the company to say, "Hey, we can do this. You are agreeing up front. We can do this."
Well, in the statement, if it says at our own discretion, we can remove your content. Yes. Now, if it says if you violate X policy, we can remove your content, and then you violate that policy, they remove your content, but other people have violated that policy and you haven't removed their content, then you got into an area where the courts could intervene, because then it's different. You're not following your own policies. We have to be careful of this. In what I do is that we follow standards set for like the way money is awarded to things and people, that we follow the guidelines for that money, because if we don't, we're like, oh, these people would clearly qualify, but we don't justify it well enough. Another group could say, I qualify for that. Why didn't I get that? In our case.
Right.
And so your policies have to be honestly vague enough that you're not caught by your own noose. You're not caught by your own rope, or however that saying goes, that you're not killing yourself. So there is that. So they usually have a blanket statement for whatever reason we can remove you. It's usually in there somewhere.
And they do. I mean, to help you out with that phrase, it's giving you enough rope to hang yourself, which is what a lot of those blanket statements do.
Yeah.
They make it very vague for a reason for them to be able to say, okay, and in a lot of ways, let's be honest, when they decide to, honestly enforce something, has a lot to do with audience reaction.
Oh, clearly. I mean, the amount of content, it can't be, come through every day. That's why YouTube uses algorithms. I put that in air quotes because it's very vague on how those work. And
Sir, are you doubting Google and their algorithms?
Well, I understand how
they invented the algorithm.
AI learning works. The way it does iterative learning is pretty interesting, but it's why they go, we don't know how it works also. Right. They can say we don't know because they've created a program that actually creates other programs to learn, and then it takes the best of breed and copies those and feeds in a bunch more data, and then takes the best breed of those, the top 1%, and then keeps doing that over and over and over. And so by the end of it, the computer has modified this programming so much, it's not really human readable. Well, it never really was, because it's not really that kind of programming, from my understanding. So,
well, buddy, you know where Google got their name for algorithms, don't you?
Where's that?
From the inventor of the internet himself, Al Gore.
Al Gore, yeah.
Sorry, that was a bad joke, but no, I agree with you. I don't know. It's a weird. The internet has become this very weird area where literally people can become anything they want these days. You and I have talked about this many times. If you wanted to become a writer, Amazon has things for that. If you want to, they have Kindle. If you wanted to do podcast, you want to be basically a radio.
You got podcasting. You do video. You got YouTube, Vimeo,
Right.
a bunch of other sites.
I mean, it's a wide open thing that allows people to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yes, there are policies in place and things like that where if somebody was to make a video that was very, let's say, controversial, they'd be banned or taken down. Like, you and I talked about Logan Paul a while back.
Yeah, the suicide video.
Right.
Well, there's also like very specific things, such as you can't make a video or denying the Holocaust. That's a German policy. Like in Germany, if you do that, it's against the law. So YouTube actually, I think, enforces that across the world, that you cannot deny the Holocaust in a video.
Okay.
I think that's enforced across all their entire platform, even though that's basically just a law that exists in Germany. Which is, I mean, I like having, in my personal opinion, I don't run a social media web empire. I am just a normal human being. I like competing on the realm of ideas. I like all ideas thrown out there so you can debate them. That's my personal preference. Let people with bad ideas say them, and people will hopefully realize they're bad ideas. But when you don't allow people to hear the ideas, to make a judgment call on them, it's like not letting a kid get a wrong answer. You just throw their wrong answer out, so they only have right answers. So they don't know what a wrong answer is. They don't know what something wrong looks like. And I have a problem with that. I'm not saying Alex Jones was wrong, but when you start determining what ideas are
allowed to be put out there.
Well, allowed to put that or not, you hurt yourself in terms of, like, I think a media company by making those determinations. But secondly, you hurt the audience as a whole, who are learning to determine what is right and what is wrong without taking everything at face value when you have a personal opinion on something.
Well, and you're not letting the internet be what it commonly is, a good place for rational people to meet and talk about what they believe and how they believe it without any kind of persecution
or bias.
Like, just a
Whatever.
safe place where ideas can be thrown around.
But that's ideas.
No one gets belittled.
Well, that's not true, obviously. But ideas are thrown around on the internet a lot.
Oh, yes, they are.
And that's one of the beautiful things about the internet. I can go read why Star Wars is an awful franchise by somebody, very few people. But I can also, people can compare and contrast Harry Potter to Star Wars and go over that. And I'm like,
and then somebody will be upset because that connection has been made and they're in their parents' basement arguing.
And that's fine. Those aren't
those people trolls.
They're not life. Yeah, I mean, trolling is an interesting thing. There's ways to stem trolling, and we're not here to talk about that. However,
yes, we should take them off the internet.
No, I don't believe in that.
I know.
I believe in open discussion.
I agree with you, Eric.
I know.
You're right. You should get the trolls and ban them from the internet.
Yes, I'm glad you summarized my ideas so fluidly.
I hear what you're saying.
Thank you,
No,
Nick.
I mean, you're right. It should be something where you're right, where people are learning to kind of filter through ideas. When we take that away from them, they don't get to form their own opinions. They don't get to form those and actually get to hear what what other people are saying, a lot of comments and things. I mean, you and I both find ourselves going through comment sections.
Oh, I love it. I will go to videos that have just like very controversial titles, and I'll just read comments without watching the video, and then I'll go watch the video and to determine my opinion of it based on what I like to hear other people's opinion before I even watch or read something. And nowadays, if I go read an article and I can't read people's comments on the article at the bottom, I get angry. I'm like, I want to know people's opinion on this. Like we've talked about Philip DeFranco as a source for media and for news. And I like him because he editorializes usually after he gives what usually seems very balanced, sometimes not so much, but a balanced concept of what's going on. Then he gives his ideas, and I love going into his comment section, and people will blast him for like skewing the way he's developed his story versus what they believe, and I enjoy that stuff. It's a great way to determine validity in the realm of ideas, is how well you put it out there. What are your sources? Why are you saying this? Do you benefit? Do you not benefit? Does someone around you benefit from what you say? And you get people's experiences read into what they believe, and I enjoy that so much. And I hate voices being taken away. Now there's actual hate speech. There are people who say horrible things, racial or sexual or whatever.
Well, right, and those people are they do that because they're able to hide, and they shouldn't. Those people should be ignored. I mean, I go through a comment section and I read what people are saying. You'll find some really good comments.
Yeah.
But you'll find a lot of really just stupid arguments or stupid things being said.
But a comment section is very different from a media source. I'll say InfoWars is a media source. I mean, you know who Alex Jones is and you know what he's saying versus Troll Lord 9000 down there who's just saying inflammatory things behind a fake avatar of like.
By the way, Eric just gave away his secret.
Troll Lord 9000.
He is Troll Lord 9000.
You found me out. So, but yeah, I think there's a big difference between those two. One has a platform. One is using his, I don't know, his face to sell his ideas, and not his face, but he's in your face talking to you, whereas another's behind. But also, the value of their comments are clearly different. One has an entire video and website versus someone who is just a commenter in some video or on some Reddit subreddit that may or may not get traffic. And so I think if someone gets banned from like commenting because they're trolling, I have no problem with that. But someone who is a person or an entity which has multiple people, which InfoWars does, is getting banned. That's a different story because they are, you know who they are. They are they are people. You know they're people. They're not like faceless. They're not entities.
Right.
Who have no form. You know, they're not like a terrorist group. You could go to them, whereas I cannot go to Troll Lord 9000 and say
you can't go to yourself, right?
I can't go to myself and say I disagree with your ideas. There's no platform for that. Where there's kind of a platform to speak with him,
right?
So he's put himself out there, and that's the difference in my opinion, and that's clearly my opinion as I editorialize.
Well, I think this has been a great Eric's.
What'd you call it? Eric's what?
Offerings.
Sounds like I'm giving up myself.
Well, you did.
This is 10% of what I've looked at today.
I'm going to be honest with you. You did most of the talking on this.
I did.
You gave a great editorial point of view.
Yes, and this is like I'm saying. This is my point of view, and now on this, I heard, and I haven't been able to verify this one, H3H3 was talking about the Alex Jones incident in their podcast, If you don't know who H3H3 is, I don't remember their names. They're just a pretty popular YouTubers.
Herman, Harry, and Harold.
Do you know H3H3?
I do not.
Oh man! So H3H3, they have a huge podcast. They were talking about this on a live show, on live streaming on YouTube, and YouTube cut them off and shut them down. I heard. I haven't been able to validate that one, but I've seen it comments on that several times, and so that's something I worry about. Is if this turns into a way of silencing people that tech industry disagrees with on political or social ideas, that's very dangerous. That's a dangerous game. And that's what I say. Ideas need to be out there to be vetted. And if people aren't taught how to vet ideas, whether Alex Jones' ideas are good or bad, I'm not discussing that, but ideas as a whole that they hear can't be vetted, it's a disservice to society.
Well, so I am looking at the Twitter account for Ethan Klein, who is an H3H3.
Yeah, he's the guy. Ethan, and what is his wife's name? She's Israeli. She's really sweet.
But it says he actually posted and said, "Wow, YouTube just shut down our the H3 podcast live stream and gave us a strike for talking about Alex Jones." And then YouTube declined or replied and said, Thanks for letting us know. We're looking into what happened and we'll keep you posted." So
yeah, it did happen.
Yeah, it did happen. They came back a few hours later and said, "Hi Ethan, our team looked into this and determined the live stream was taken down incorrectly. The strike has been removed. Our apologies and thank you for your patience." So they could put up the recording, but I mean, obviously, it's not the live.
It's not live. So that's an interesting thing right there. Someone. Well, I doubt that was an algorithm that took it down.
No, I think that was an algorithm.
You think it was an algorithm?
Well, because it's one of those. You and I have gotten strikes for silly things. I'm guessing that the Alex Jones thing is a kind of one of the things that would be a strike thing.
I don't think Alex Jones talks about himself in third person, though. I mean, in
but
first
any
person.
mention of Alex Jones would be like a controversial.
But they talk about controversial stuff all the time on their podcast.
I understand that, but this I guess was something that was probably in the algorithm at the time. Or do you think it was?
I think it was a person. I think it was a person because the Alex Jones thing was. This is conspiracy theory. Alex Jones thing was a effort to take him off the platforms that they did in a collaborative effort. Kind of. It kind of seems like. So that feels like, in my opinion, which is very subjective, that this would be done by a person. Like maybe someone reported it or someone did something and someone started watching. They're like, oh, they're doing this. And maybe an overzealous employee, in my opinion. I mean, you know what? I would say I'd give YouTube the benefit of the doubt, but I've seen YouTube mess up too many times. They've kind of burned that like bridge with me. Like I've seen just too many videos that shouldn't be up and stuff that, we had a video taken down. We were playing Diablo 3. No big deal. But very lightly in the background, I had the audio for Hamilton 3 going. I mean, it was not loud at all. And somehow they were able to get that, which I thought was amazing. I was like, wow, that was really good. I don't know if that was a person that did that or if that was like an algorithm. I thought that was pretty good. So maybe I'm wrong.
Well, for it to be a person, they would have to have watched it.
And they'd probably...
thank you for the view.
And I doubt if like a YouTube person watches something for validation to see if it's good or bad, it counts as a view. I'm sure they have it doesn't count against that metric.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a very interesting deal. I didn't know that YouTube had done that. It's kind of they had taken down that live stream. I mean, that's
The YouTube, the H3H3 podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they talk about crazy stuff. Not like, I mean, they're pretty vulgar and they talk about very interesting topics also. And so it's curious to me, which I've listened to. They're great interviewers, very fun to listen to. I mean, they're good at what they do. And that's why I listen to them, because I'm like, I want to hear them because I want to get better. And so I watch people who are far better than I am, and at times try not emulate entirely, but in certain manners, just maybe the way they ask questions or how they move the story along. So I mean, it's always great to watch people who are far better than you. The best podcast, the best interviewer is probably the guy on Hot Ones. He's a great interviewer. And they were on Hot Ones too.
You talking about the one where they eat the
Hot wings?
Hot wings?
Yeah, he's a great interviewer. It's just a great concept.
Well, it is a great concept. I enjoy watching that one. They have some really neat. I mean, that's just a neat idea of having them try to eat those. Anyway, well, Eric, anything else to add?
Oh, I have nothing else to add. I mean, I think I talked enough this time. I mean, in the end,
Eric, people like hearing your voice.
The media,
it soothes them.
The media companies have a right to do what they want. I believe the market will handle it. However that goes, the market will handle it. And so that, in my opinion, I think it was a bad move by the media companies. If they continue doing it to suppress a certain type of speech, not just hate speech, but like whatever they're claiming is hate speech, which can be anything, I think it will become an issue in the larger scheme of the internet and the culture of the internet. I don't think it'll work out well for any of them. I think even though the internet's only really been around, what we got, 90s?
Since Al Gore made it?
Yes. Since Al Gore took time out of his schedule to make it. I mean, what do you think the internet's been around at? Not in its current state, obviously, but when it was usable, like late 90s?
Yeah.
So it's been around 20 years, we'll say. Like, easy 20 years. It's still very young. Can't even drink. We might be able to drink now.
Yes.
You know, and so I think the internet has a long ways to go in what it does and how it works. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it's just another blip, a little blimp on the history of the internet. We'll see where it goes from here.
All right. Well, we appreciate you listening to us. Eric, why don't you tell them where they can go from here to see us?
All those media companies that kind of bashed on what they did, all of those, except for Twitter, they kept them out there. But you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Podbean, iTunes. Go there and search for Pull Up a Chair Podcast, and you'll find us. We're even on the new Google podcasting app. Just search for Pull Up a Chair Podcast. Like I said, Twitter, it's at Pull Up a Chair Pod as our handle. So tweet at us or go to Facebook and make a comment on one of our shows, and we'll get back to you. I'd love to know your opinion. Was it right? Was it wrong? I mean, even if you have a really long-winded opinion, I'll read it, because I want to hear your ideas, because that's what I like to do. So come yell at us.
All right, you heard it here. Eric is challenging you all to a yelling contest. He will take you on in person.
I hope Trollord 9000 gets on.
Trollord 9000, you get on. You send us an address. Eric will come and yell at you in your face and tell you all of his ideas. But in order to do that, you must agree to join us next time when we talk about
something else.
Another one of Eric's offerings. All right, thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it, because we did. Have yourself a great day.
Bye.